Jordan Mohler, welcome to the Cassius Morris Show.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, my man. I appreciate it. So let's just jump right into it because you have a lot going on your site. You're the editor in chief at Kill the Music. Real
Yeah,
quick, for anybody who hasn't heard of Kill the Music, what is your site and what type of content do you guys put out?
I mean, it started out as well. I'll tell you how the actual start, the name of the site got around.
Yeah.
I went and saw the movie The Social Network. It came out in like October 2010. Story about Facebook. I got inspired to, create a website after that. I knew it wouldn't get as big as Facebook. One can dream. So,
Right.
but and there was a song called "Kill the Music" by a band called "Every Time I Died." I liked the name of it. I hadn't seen it be used somewhere else as far as for a music side. I figured it'd be somewhat unique, even though it's the name of a song. So that's where the name comes from.
Nice.
As far as content, it's mainly my personal taste. I do have one other person helping me run it, but kind of personal taste, kind of just breaking news here and there, but also covering like the bands I want to cover. But we do help out unsigned bands. Got like a whole unsigned spotlight of 100, hundreds of new bands you can check out like every day. We try to post a new unsigned band every day as well. So
Wow. So you guys are going crazy with the daily content and it's only two people.
yeah,
So how do you maintain that? Are you constantly just on your devices like in between everything else you're doing or?
kind of. I mean, I can schedule stuff. I mean, I do post memes in between, but I didn't want to just be another like RSS feed like so many other. Not going to name stuff, but the ones I see is mainly just publishing to their Facebook and not really interacting with their thing. You're not really going to get engagement and grow your page, but that's just me.
Exactly. So you're sort of doing this almost full time. So the Social Network, that movie came out in what, 2015 it would be?
No, 2010.
2010. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it was a little
I'm
before
10
that.
years old this October. So
And it's funny how the internet has even changed so much since then because Facebook was huge then, but
mhm.
now Facebook is still pretty big, but I wouldn't say it's the biggest giant, compared to how it was back then.
Mhm.
So it's interesting. So at that point, you wanted to start something to connect people. Did you ever consider having accounts or something like that, or did it start as I'm going to post here?
Just more of a blog. I mean, he in the beginning of it, he kind of blogged when he was, making. Well, it's called Face Mash at first. Like when he got started at Harvard, kind of moved that on to Facebook. But just having somewhere to post. I saw all these other publications do that. I wanted to do it. I figured, I can ask better questions and do it better. Why not prove it? People want a website to discover music. Why not offer that? So.
Yeah. So when you first went to start it, did you find it difficult to start a website? Because I have a lot of people ask me, how do I start a website? I don't know where to start. And then some people, they just jump right into it.
It was a little bit difficult. I mean, you had to buy the domain name, you got to find hosting, that kind of stuff. Luckily, when you buy the domain name, some places like Tumblr, I was hosted on there for a while, but then we moved over to Squarespace. So Tumblr is free, but you can add a custom URL so it looks like a professional site rather than just killthemusic.tumblr.com. So.
Right. And once you started it, who were some of the main bands that you were talking about in the beginning? Like, who are some of your favorite groups that really made you want to talk music in the first place?
Ooh, probably Every Time I Die because I just got into them and they inspired the name of the site, so definitely them. Under of kind of more of the Warped Tour scene, kind of the alternative. I mean, there were some bigger names, but I didn't really want to cover what everyone else was covering. I know it sounds kind of generic, but
Mm-hmm.
like obviously, if you're playing arenas, you don't really need you know publication, but they still do interviews. They still have people shoot their shows, but I didn't really want to cover like the mainstream pop stuff, kind of like the smaller Mayhem Fest, but like bands where Slayer, a Slipknot, Code Orange, those kind of bands played. Like speaking of which, I'm wearing one of their hoodies, but
Nice.
yeah, those kind of bands.
That's awesome. So what type of covers did you first start doing? Did you just show up and review a show one time?
Uh, I have reviewed a few shows. Sometimes I'll do, or I will have a YouTube channel, but we did like reviews, well, review of the show, and then we did like an interview with the band as well. I think my first one was with Job for a Cowboy. They're old school, quote unquote, respected deathcore band, but
Hmm.
that was my first on camera. And then like I got to interview a few people on Mayhem Festival 2012. Most of the Warp Tours, give or take a few years, and as far as the big name bands and stuff I interviewed, Warp Tour quite a few times. Uh, some one-offs, but some regular tours like Bring Me the Horizon, I think was a big one. Like I've been following them since 2010, like when There Is a Hell came out. So
Hmm. Okay, so a lot of that type of stuff. Warp Tour is one that I've never got to go to just because of where I'm at in Canada. Where are you located, by the way?
Cleveland, Ohio.
Cleveland, Ohio. So Ohio, I think they get a pretty good amount of stuff like that, right?
Yeah, there's always country artists coming through, but also got a lot of. I mean, it's the you know home of rock and roll, so we're going to have. I mean, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is here.
Hmm.
Uh, got a nice arena, and then we got pretty much every size almost venue here, so it makes it easy for a lot of bands to come through. I mean, I know Columbus obviously is a bigger market, but like I said, Cleveland has pretty much from the smallest venue up to the biggest venue, and then some. So
Yeah, and there's a couple different markets there, which is pretty nice. And there's a pretty good amount of people that go through there, like I say, and even for comedy, like the Death Squad guys. I know Red Band's out of there. There's, I
I
believe, Tony
and I
Hinchcliffe.
saw what's that show that Kill Tony with Tony Hinchcliffe and Brian Redband. It was at the House of Blues.
Oh, you went
So
to see that?
yeah, good show.
That's awesome. I'm actually going to Vancouver next month, and I was sort of looking for an excuse to go, and I'm kind of planning it around the show. So that's I haven't said that even to Red Band yet, but I'm gonna make it happen. So
Hey, why not interview them both? That'd be a great episode for you too. So
yeah, man, seriously, yeah. One of my favorite things has been going back and interviewing people from the past and stuff. So I think it's really cool, and it's interesting what you mentioned about a lot of the mainstream artists who play arenas and they play these big venues. Like they aren't necessarily looking for promotion, and that's something I sort of found just throughout doing this. It's like you want to focus on those smaller artists too. So I'm curious, when you started, did you get into the trap of I want to go for these huge bands and overlook some of the smaller artists, or were you always conscious of that upcoming scene?
I mean, I did try. There was some shows I did want to get into, mainly to interview. Like, I mean, I wouldn't be taking pictures because I wouldn't consider myself a photographer as more of an interviewer, like kind of what you're doing. Like I've done a few interviews via Skype, so
Yeah. Okay.
definitely can relate to that. But
Yeah.
there was definitely arena ones I wanted to go to. Um, a few of those, and then like you said, some of the smaller ones, like local, like talking about like they played at like the old church venue, that kind of thing. And then where I grew up in Georgia, so they would have small bands play there at the these DIY venues. So like these are like not even bands that you might have heard. It might just be like local enough where it's just the state over type of thing. So
Yeah.
had a few type of those bands come through and covered them. Like I would interview them, I'd send them like email them the questions, and if they had a new song out, I'd post it for them, help them out. I'm sure they appreciate it. I mean, it's one more person who help spreading the word about their band.
Well, yeah, exactly. I like that you were conscious about the upcoming scene because this is sort of a dilemma that I faced, and it was an issue for me because I started off doing a Kiss podcast. So obviously that's about as mainstream as it gets. And then when I traveled into talking about other music, it just seemed like a natural transition to talk about the other biggest bands. And I also didn't know anybody in my city. So I realized that I was in a city and I was putting out content, and it almost seemed like I wasn't aware of or supportive of my local scene, which was not the case. I was very supportive of it. I just didn't know people personally. So that's been one of the funnest things for me, and that's the type of publications that I actually enjoy the most is people who like you're saying, you pay attention to those guys like Slipknot and those guys, but you also pay attention to your local dudes, and they do appreciate it because it's tough. It's tough to get heard out here.
Hmm. I mean, any bands near your area you've been listening to, or you want to shout out? Like, what's good near your area?
I'm not aware of too many bands. I'm aware of a lot of local rappers. The first guys that come to mind is Chill's Life. They're a group. they aren't really a rap group. They sort of all are solo artists, but they sort of perform together and they each do their songs. There's guys like that. There's some sort of melodic singing type guys who are doing rap, like my buddy Nolan Ryan. Shout out No Question Who. People like that. It's interesting. The artists in this community, at least, they seem really energized with the new decade, with the new 2020 stuff. I don't know how it is for you on your end. What type of stuff is really bubbling in Ohio?
There's a metal band called Sense of Purpose that's really good. I mean, arguably, in my opinion at least, they're the best local band. And there's another one called Buried Crosses that's more like, I don't know if you heard of Cane Hill. They're kind of similar. It's kind of new metal, but not like old school new. It's kind of like new school new metal. I'll send you after we do the interview. You can check them out. But
Please, definitely, that'd be cool.
those are a couple of my favorites.
That's awesome. I dig the new metal scene. I used to be more into it. It was with like the very mainstream groups, Korn, like obviously as mainstream as it gets. But I my question for you is, when it comes to the internet, when it comes to the accessibility right now, and we were talking about how much has changed since the Facebook days, social network days when it was really big. Do you think it's harder for people to get discovered through a local scene, or do you think it's easier with the internet because there's so much?
I mean, I think it's right place, right time. Like you could, like I think the way Halsey was discovered, like she uploaded a song to SoundCloud and like overnight it blew up. I mean, there's tons. I mean, I know she's not a SoundCloud rapper, but there's been stories like, just upload a song, like overnight it takes off somehow. But
Yeah.
definitely, definitely can grow. The internet does help. I would say it's a lot easier to promote yourself on the internet instead of having, put up flyers. But hey, if you still do that and put up flyers, then power to you. 'Cause,
Hmm.
getting the word out there no matter what.
I actually find that that's, in my perspective, the most effective way to do it. Because if I see something online and then I'm walking around downtown and I see a flyer, I'm like, oh shit, like this is the real deal, and it sticks in my head more. So yeah, I think it's about using those both of those platforms. Sort of, it's word of mouth and it's social media, if you ask me. But it is difficult though to get seen. It's funny with the Halsey stuff too. It did seem like she blew up out of nowhere because I saw her opening up for The Weeknd, and then like a year later she had her own headlining world tour.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like it's unbelievable how it happens. In terms of music festivals and everything, do you have any standout moments in your media coverage?
Oof. Well, I lost it. Somehow the interview got taken down from my YouTube channel, but I have a picture from the interview. But I interviewed the singer from As I Lay Dying in 2012. I think just about a year before he tried to, or allegedly, he used the right terms, but allegedly, or I guess he was found guilty. So I guess that would be the right word. But he ordered a hitman on his wife, but it failed. It was like an undercover operation. The guy was a cop, long story short. So he went to jail for a couple of years and finally got out and rejoined the band. They blew up. But this was 2012, so it was like 8 years ago on Mayhem Fest. But kind of crazy considering what happened at the time. But
Wow,
yeah.
that's insane, dude. Like, so it's a similar situation to the, what's his name? I'm trying to remember his name. The Phil Rudd, I think, from AC/DC.
I believe so, yeah.
Because he tried to hire a hitman too. So my question is, first of all, why are these guys hiring hitmen, and why do they keep getting caught?
I, I don't know, honestly. I mean, I'll let your readers read more about it. I don't want to go in too much detail. I don't want to get, say something wrong that's not on the record about it. But if they want to look it up, they can look it up. But definitely a crazy story. I mean, they had, when the band came back, had a big, long, like open interview where they were talking about, what happened. I mean, he was found guilty, but the band forgave him and they let him rejoin. But whether or not you want to listen to him after that, learning that's up to you.
It's like any other artist who's in a controversy, right? Some people can separate it and others can't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a fair thing. So what was your memory with him? It was just the interview, the fact that you got to talk to him?
Yeah, I had been listening to their music for like the longest time, and their new album had just come out, and we was talking about that. It was pretty cool, but just crazy considering like a year later that went down. It's like, damn. well, behind the scenes, it's like, but everything's obviously, I guess there was a front, I guess is the word I'm looking for.
Is that something you thought about for a good period of time after?
A little bit. I mean, I wasn't necessarily the first person to interview him, so you know, it was, thought about it for a couple of days, but it's like I can't worry about this. I mean, let the court decide what happens next. It's not my place to say. So,
Right.
despite the age of the internet court nowadays.
I know it's crazy, and that's something I actually put up this tweet. It was a couple weeks ago. I said, hey, music websites that talk about politics for clicks, fuck you," and that was essentially it. Because with all the politics has gotten so sensational now that it's like any website can get clicks off it. So I see them capitalizing, but I respect that you. I hear you saying, hey, like I don't even have a say on this guy's thing, and he's a metal guy. You know what I mean? So it's like, do you find that a lot of people, or let me rephrase that. Do you notice a lot of websites going to politics where it's out of place when it comes to music publications?
Places like Alternative Press, Metal Sucks. I mean, I used to respect Alternative Press back in the day. I mean, they were actually a really cool magazine, but
They were.
once one of their editors left, well, Scott Heisel, ran it for. I think he was the managing editor. I could be wrong. I mean, if I get corrected, I get corrected about it. But he was what he was there. I forget when he left exactly, but after that, kind of started going downhill. Then it became like turning the BuzzFeed basically on the website. I mean, the magazine's cool, but it's like they kind of like a rotating list now of artists. I mean, they have such a big platform. Why not use it to like the small bands, not just this is who's trending, you know?
Yeah, 100%. And I notice it a lot, and in a lot of different sites. I mean, even Blabbermouth I found is very political, and I love Blabbermouth, and I respect what they do. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of these websites should fall back a little bit because that's not what I'm necessarily subscribed for.
hmm
It's an interesting thing.
I mean, yeah, it would be nice to stay in like learn about some politics, but it's not something I personally want to do. I mean, yeah, he might be getting close to impeached, but I'm not really going to read or watch until it actually happens. We can talk about it, but that doesn't do anything until it actually happens. That's all I'm going to say on that. So
Exactly. And yeah, that's the thing. And it's like, if you're going to deliver the news, that's one thing. But once I start seeing Corey Taylor's take on the news, that's when I personally start to lose interest. And I also like, I find that I don't care what it is. It's not just politics. It can really be anything. I don't like to know my favorite celebrity's position on hot button world issues because it does alienate one way or another. Because I always say like Ryan Seacrest, who did he vote for? We don't know. What's his thoughts on all these big issues? We don't know. Because he's a good entertainer. Because he's doing his job. You know what I mean?
yeah, it's definitely crazy. Like you think like a celebrity or a musician, and he's like, oh, I support this person. I'm like, yeah, it's like kind of makes you not want to listen to him anymore personally. If that's just me.
Exactly. Yeah. What I like from an entertainer is whatever you got me hooked on first. If you're a singer, sing. If you're a dancer, dance. Listen, at the end of the day, you can do different art, but when you start seeing stuff like Cardi B saying she wants to join Congress and all this crazy stuff, I'm like, let's just relax, please, before we all die.
I'm still be like every other politician and drug and blackmail her way up the line. So.
I was actually gonna post about that. I was gonna say she's doing all this crazy backhanded stuff. She's using drugs. She's a sexual pervert. She'll fit right in Congress.
I mean, hey, she admitted to all this too before you guys attack us. So
She admitted to this. This is her words, not ours.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I like when people sort of stay to the point and they stay true because at the end of the day, if you post good enough content, you can just get the views naturally. It doesn't have to be through backhanded maneuvers.
Yeah, it's weird. I've posted. I mean, I do start to cover in some mainstream, like I guess it depends on what you call mainstream. Like, they have sold millions. Like let's say Shinedown, for example. I posted about their tour of Papa Roach. Didn't really think anything of it, and somehow that got like a shit ton of clicks. It blew up for whatever reason. I'd never really posted about them before, so it's not like I'd been a big fan. So it's just weird to see something like that skyrocket compared to any other band.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I find that sometimes you'll post something and you really don't expect what'll do big. You know, sometimes I'll post something, I'll expect a couple hundred views, it'll get way more. Sometimes I expect way more, it gets less than a couple hundred. So
Hmm.
it's, but I found that with any sort of way of making art, be it, you know, I have my very limited experience doing comedy or writing music, the audience will tell you what's good.
Hmm.
That's one of the main things I've noticed. So, what do you look? By the way, you mentioned living in Cleveland. I like to ask people who are informed, and you're obviously very informed about music. What are your thoughts on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? We just got some new nominees, including the Notorious B.I.G. and Whitney Houston.
Um, I mean, they shouldn't. I mean, they've been around. I mean, I can see. I mean, they're not really rock. I mean, to me, I care more about Nine Inch Nails and Depeche Mode being nominated personally. That's
There you
more
go.
music, but I mean, if they got inducted, power to them. I mean, I can't really say anything. They're obviously way bigger. So, but those personally, like Nine Inch Nails and Depeche Mode, are the only ones I care about. The other ones aren't really rock, in my opinion. So, if they have a hip hop Hall of Fame, then why not do that? They've got people in hip hop. Rock has its own Hall of Fame. Why not hip hop, like an official hip hop type thing?
That's the thing. Yeah, I completely agree, and I know a lot of people say, "Oh, it doesn't matter," you know, and it doesn't really matter when there's real things going on, but it kind of matters because if you're trying to make an official tribute to music, why not do it right? And I think Biggie deserves to be in the Rap Hall of Fame. Eminem deserves to be in the Rap Hall of Fame. And then, you know, Iron Maiden, Nine Inch Nails, all those guys deserve to be in the Rock Hall. You know, it's why not? Have you ever been to any of the induction ceremonies or anything?
No, I haven't had a chance to cover those. I've been to the hall quite a few times and walked around. They had like a Warp Tour exhibit because Warp Tour ended like I guess year and a half ago. Not sure. They did well. Actually, last year they had like the 25th anniversary like Destiny type stops. I guess to wrap it up as like the final uh, exit.
Sort
So
of last hurrah.
yeah, but they had some memorabilia. I mean, Deftones even played. So I mean, big bands play. I mean, they started on there. Katy Perry,
Yeah.
uh, Cold, played on Warp Tour '99, I believe, which is crazy considering how big they are now. So just because they play Warp Tour doesn't mean they're not going to go anywhere. Some bands don't, but you can tell they're going to blow up because they had it. They had their shit going on back then, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah. Black Veil Brides got pretty damn big off Warped Tour.
yeah, it's crazy how much they blew up, but having a good looking singer will do that for you. So,
I think Andy Biersack is still active. I don't know if you cover his music at all.
covered a few of his solo projects, or I guess his solo. I guess it's just under his name or Andy Six. Or I guess it is Andy Biersack. I didn't know what his solo actual title was, but
Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't too bad. I mean, I think personally, as like his solo stuff's a little bit better, but I'm not really a Black Veil Brides fan.
Yeah. Yeah, I interviewed them back in the day. That was one of the only like Warped Tour groups I really talked to while they were really big. So that's why they just came to mind at that point. That was pretty funny back in the day. But yeah, they had an interesting run and they definitely had a good buzz. And it was at a weird time, sort of before Instagram and stuff. And they kind of found a way to cultivate a really good buzz around their name. I thought it was Andy was smart with the way he did it. I thought.
Yeah, I mean, they grew up in the age of MySpace, I believe. Because, like you said before Instagram, I think MySpace was still around, or I guess it is still around now, but when it was relevant.
Yeah, I think it was bought out by Napster.
Yeah, funny enough, of all places, but
Right? What Napster?
the real winner here is Tom Anderson from MySpace. I mean, he's just traveling the world, like taking photography. I don't know if you follow him on Instagram. It's like
No.
MySpace Tom, but it's just him traveling around the world, taking pictures with his wife.
Hmm.
Sounds pretty cool. I mean, made like $580 million after selling MySpace. So, I'd probably do the same.
He had his moment, right? I don't think he really cares either way at this point.
Unlike some other social network owners, I'm not going to say their name, are kind of overstaying their welcome. kind of gets worse as the years go by. So
I definitely see that going on. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that sort of curves. Wrapping up, I guess, looking towards the future. What are you most excited for with your website? What are you most excited for in the music scene right now?
uh, Purity Ring. They're actually from Canada, Edmonton. They live in Los Angeles now. Kind of synth pop, trap, electronic music. You might like it. They're supposed to be coming out with a new album this year. They're playing Lightning in the Bottle Fest, which is kind of their first activity in like a long time. So, really been into them. Haven't been listening to metal actually. Like I'm listening to metal for most of my life, kind of wanting to move over and like more Halsey type, you know, Purity Ring, Churches, kind of another great. If you like Depeche Mode, you'd like them. But
Okay, and they're from my city too, so I'll definitely check them out.
yeah, they came out in like 2012. They got 2 albums out. Hopefully, the new one comes out this year. I mean, it's the last one. It came out in 2015, so it'll be about 5 years since the last album. So you can see why fans are kind of getting crazy on.
Fans are ready.
Yeah. As far as music goes, or just the website in general, like just want to keep it growing. I mean, we do have a Patreon. I hope you can let me plug a few things.
Please, go ahead.
Have a Patreon at patreon.com/killthemusic. Ton of awesome perks on there and would help, hosting and server build. I mean, as much as I would like it to be huge, it'd be also cool to have the fans support. I do want to take away ads. I mean, I'd hate running ads, but being independent ad free would be great in the age of 2020. So
killthemusic.net is the website. I want everybody to go check it out.
Plug my Twitter as well, at Kill the Music TV on Twitter and Instagram, as well as our Facebook, and then my personal Jordan Mohler, Mohler, Twitter and Instagram as well. Not verified yet, but getting there. So.
Getting there. Beautiful. Jordan, thank you so much for your time, my man. It was really good talking to you, and best of luck with the website. We'll be watching.
Yep. Thank you for having me on.